Joining us on The Informer is Mildura businessman Liam Wood. Liam, how is everything going there in Mildura with COVID?
Well, we've had slight easing of restrictions, so things are starting to open up again. But it's been a very, very interesting saga because obviously we're in regional Victoria, which is we're over 600 k's away from Melbourne, so we're very isolated. But we've been basically dealing with the same rules as Melbourne. We haven't had anything for 6 months, but we're still heavily restricted and have only just come out of lockdown, basically.
And so are you at level 2 now?
No, we're still at level 3. So, we actually opened up a couple of months ago, and then when the COVID cases increased in Melbourne and they went into lockdown, they basically locked down the whole state, which was interesting because, as I said, we hadn't had a case for 6 months. So we had a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, and we started moving around and going to restaurants and things again. And it lasted 4 weeks, and then back into lockdown for, I think it was between 6 and 8 weeks. So we've only this is the third week that we've come out of lockdown again.
And you've got 3 venues. You've got the Sets, Secret Garden and Rumours nightclub. Are all 3 venues open, or Rumours is still closed?
Yeah, Rumours is still closed because obviously it's the nightclub. It was the first to be shut, and the last one to, you there? Mm-hmm. And the last one to open, I would think, due to numbers and things like that. But our other venues have reopened to a minimal capacity.
How are your staff coping?
The staff have actually been really good. We've obviously had government assistance with JobKeeper to keep their salaries going through the time. So we've actually tried to, even though we were closed, we were coming in and painting things and fixing things and stuff in the venue, and really just for social and personal interaction, to talk to someone. So I tried to make sure that the staff came in weekly, so we all caught up on a regular basis. And, as we said, we tinkered around the venues and fixed things up. But there's only so many times you can paint the same wall.
Well, mental health is so important, and it's been talked about a lot and more, because the reality is there has been a number of or I should say an increase in suicides that are being reported. The government hasn't necessarily reported it yet, but certainly healthcare workers are reporting it. So I think it's incredibly important that you're doing everything you can to keep staff morale up and make sure that everybody's doing okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think the first time we locked down, it was just a massive shock, which I'm sure it was over there as well. And it was just, you were just really lost. And the worst thing was, especially for my staff, you always hope that as a boss or, business owner, you can tell your staff that it's going to be okay. And you got comfort, you can come up with, some answers for them. And it was just like, I've got nothing for you. So that was really scary and really saddening as well, because they were looking to you for answers, and not to be able to provide them sent me to a pretty dark space as well, which I'm sure a lot of people went to first lockdown. So like many of us, we probably hit the beers too much, and had too much spare time on our hands. So and living alone, like I've said, is very hard, especially in lockdown. So second time around, I picked myself up and made sure I wasn't going to go down that track again. But it's been terribly hard for everyone.
Yeah, I live on my own as well, and I thankfully have a dog, and I've said to everybody, adopting him was the best thing I ever could have done for myself, because I don't know how I would have made it through 2020 without just another being next to me. So I totally get it, and I'm sure everybody watching understands as well. Now,
well, I've seen a lot more pet videos online than I ever have before in lockdown. Everyone seems to a lot of the people, it's their only friend at the moment. So filming their cat, their dog, their budgie, or whatever it is, it seems to be high on the agenda at the moment.
Well, I think my Instagram feed is all photos of me and my dog. And I'm sorry, world,
Yeah.
but that's the reality. I'm all about being real, and that's it. Now, we were talking before we got together to film this about a new rule that's been imposed on venue owners like yourself by the Victorian government. And that is, you have to check, correct me if I've got this wrong, you have to check customers in, they have to fill in a form, and if somebody does the wrong thing, doesn't fill the form in correctly, you get fined $10,000. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think that's why we've connected over Facebook, because I did spit the dummy a bit and blow my lid, and had a bit of a Facebook rant about it. But it is a scary thought, and I don't know where it's come from the Victorian government, because it's absolutely ludicrous. You know, Melbourne are supposed to be in lockdown. Daniel Andrews has said that they've created a ring of steel around the city where people can't get in or out of the city. So for someone to then impose a $10,000 fine on a small business span close to 6 months, and is absolutely on its knees, financially and emotionally, physically, for someone else's stuff up is terrible, you know. So if someone does come into our venues, which we have sign-in forms already, but if someone says, you know, they're from where I'm from instead of saying they're from Melbourne, and we get investigated, somehow it's not on the individual's onus to fill it out properly. It's up to us to check everyone and basically interrogate, you know, every one of our patrons to make sure they fill it out properly. Otherwise, it's 10 grand out of our pocket.
How do you even do that? I mean, that's the first thing that popped into my head. How do you even find out if that's who they are? Are you meant to be checking IDs as if it was a nightclub?
Well, that's the thing, and for a business like we have sign-in sheets already. We have QR codes that you can take on your phone, and it automatically does it. So we are doing the right thing, trying to do this, you know, in case of COVID tracing needs to happen. But they're contact numbers, they're phone numbers and things that people can call. They're not necessarily people's addresses and things like that, which is, you know, highly personal as well. Like especially if it's on a spreadsheet at the front door. But yeah, that's basically what they're saying. And, you know, it's another staff member that we have to employ when we're already struggling. You know, it's basically having to have someone on the door checking everyone, which, you know, that there's only so much you can do, and only so many people you can employ to do these things before you're actually going backwards.
Well, common sense would sort of say, in hearing what they're trying to do, because you understand about the contact tracing, but you would almost think that the fine, no matter what the amount, should be on the person who's telling the lie versus the business that's just doing their best to operate.
Yeah, and as you know, probably the thing about common sense is not that common these days. So, and as we were speaking about off air before, 2020 has made me realise just don't get surprised about anything, because the craziest stuff can happen, and here we are. So
every time we say nothing else can happen, the universe says, oh, but wait. The other thing we were talking about before we went on air was the ring of steel around Melbourne. And you were talking about how tight that ring of steel is or isn't.
Yes. So this is what they're saying. They're saying that, you know, the ring of steel is, you know, impenetrable, and people can't get in and out without, you know, work permits. There's obviously their ID that tells them where they live and things like that. But there's massive news coverage now coming out that's actually, you know, people getting waved through because the line's too busy for everyone to check. So they're waving these people through. And this is the thing that we'll get back to again. It's okay. The government itself is actually wrecking their whole process, but yet the small business owner in Mildura, 600 k's away, can cop the fine.
It's just crazy. Now, something else that's coming up, which might actually give you an edge to be able to speak on these matters and do more to change it, is that you are running for Mildura Rural City Council. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct, and a lot of it's got to do with this very situation. You know, I ran for it 4 years ago and just got pipped, but a lot of people asked me to run again, and I did consider it, but then kind of pushed it to the side, and these things started popping up, and you know, injustices, and also Mildura being lumped in, you know, the Melbourne centric when we're 600 k's away, not having its own identity basically, and its own set of rules for being so far away. So that really put a thorn in my side and kick-started me back into running again. So fingers crossed.
Absolutely, and it runs in the family because your brother Aaron Wood is Deputy Lord Mayor of Melbourne, and he's running for the position of Lord Mayor.
Yeah, that's correct, and fingers crossed he gets in too. He definitely deserves it, and he's done his time. But he certainly needs to get in, and we both need to get in really, because Mum's tearing her hair out at the moment. She's saying, "Why are you doing this to us?" So to her and Dad. But yeah, we've always been wanting to be a part of change. So fingers crossed we both get in.
Well, you find out one way or the other later this month, October 24th.
Yep, October 24, polls close. So a couple of days after that, it's hopefully we're popping champagne.
Well, people need to get voting. Liam, I wish you all the best. Fingers crossed that Mildura stays open and the rest of Victoria opens up. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Nat. And yeah, hopefully it gets better for all of us around the world.
Absolutely, and we'll hopefully be talking to you soon as a member of the Rural City Council in Mildura.
That would be great.
Thank you.
Cheers.